If we look at the state of Silver and Blood, the plot thickens as the devs dump lots of lore and new characters on us. But lest we get too lost in the sauce, I wanted to take some time to show love to a certain character who's responsible for upholding the entire meta-narrative of the plot. He's already gotten power crept by timeless Iona and his whole aura hijacked by Agnes. These time-traveling terrorists, just calling a spade, they really got it out for him. So today's Yap Sesh is about the most important character with respect to the meta plot, Isaac Van Helsing.
Nothing can shake my conviction.
In my review of the game, I mentioned that Van Helsing is a reflection of the protagonist, and I still stand by that. I also said the story could still work if they were switched. Survey says? See, they're presented as similar archetypes in their dialogues and ways of thinking, but represent a literal reflection of each other, or better yet, a glimpse into our future. I was bamboozled because they both operate with similar modus operandi, common sense and heroics. The Van Helsing namesake constitutes heroism, so let's look at his points of reference throughout the years. Abraham Van Helsing, the OG Van Helsing, led his squad to vanquish Dracula in the Bram Stoker classic. But before he was an action hero and heroine, he was an older, wise witch doctor of sorts with an absurd sense of duty. See, Dracula's myth represents parasitism, predation, and corruption, and every iteration of Van Helsing since has represented the opposing force to this evil. It's always been on site with these two, like these two, or these two. So just like his literary ancestors, Isaac inherits his archetypical role, the antidote to corruption. But as time marches forth, with regards to Silver and Blood, back and forth, the lines between good and evil mesh into a twisted grayscale, obfuscating our judgment. You think the church is the ops? I've read this critique before, disparaging the plot for using the old church as evil trope, but I wouldn't be so sure. The poor actors in this tragedy float in this purgatory between good and evil, their actions puppeteered by ideals way above their pay grade. So as I progress through the story, I try to parse out the meta-narrative, if any, because if we're meant to play as Noah, we're compelled, even forced, to embody his confusion, decisions, and shortcomings. And to understand our role in the game, it's worth looking at the figure we're meant to grow into.
What the heliante? What the helion?
When he's introduced to us aboard the Dorado, he's already gone through his hero initiation. On board, he's presented as a cool, calm, measured know-it-all. Everyone on board glazes this man, and for some dumb reason, he's entrusted with heading the security detail on board. I mean, okay, he's earned his stripes as one of the church's Silver Cross members. These guys are heretic hunters who do exactly what the title suggests, slaughter in the name of a higher power. They wield legendary weapons called future artifacts, which, as a subplot, drives a lot of character motivations in the story. The writers like to hint at these weapons as some black market arms race happening in the background of the game. Anyway, aside from being adept at Spanish Inquisitioning, Van Helsing's also a Scooby-maxing Sherlock-pilled, unskippable ad, if you will. This makes for a dangerous combo if blessed upon the wrong person. But what is man if not capable of taming his own danger? Or worse, lying about having it? Cultural icons, apparently. Anyway, the mystery on the El Dorado is solved by Van Helsing in collaboration with us stumbling around the ship. It's a long arc and I won't spoil it for the newbies, but hang in there. The payoff is worth it, and if not, on the 8th day, God created the skip button. But to put it briefly, this arc wants us to know that Van Helsing's obsessed with finding the truth. But why? What's his motivation?
You can't handle the truth.
Obviously some traumatic happened to the boy. If you missed the Sapphire Isle event, allow me to quickly recap from Van Helsing's point of view. See, Van Helsing was born on this island. I guess you could call him an island boy. His dad owned the island, but got freaky with some sirens carrying the black blood living offshore. Thus we get Lorelei, his half-sister. In a tragic turn of events, his dad got infected with the black blood and turned into a monster. While Van Helsing's forced to pull an Oedipus amongst the chaos, the church intervenes to get everything in order. Saint Albrecht, legendary alchemist, sees what's happened and takes Van Helsing under his wing, raising him under the tenets of the church. Now skilled with ranged weaponry and powers of deduction, he's expected to take Albrecht's bell ringer slot if that day ever comes. See, that's Isaac's initiation into chaos, his father's corruption, his forced duty, and his adoption by the order of the church. The chaos becomes integrated into him like shitty DLC, and now he's murdering and solving mysteries. Not quite the right type of murder mystery we're used to, but he's got the spirit. Anyway, look at the amount of connections Van Helsing has with this many characters with the least degrees of separation. He's a narrative central figure if I'm not being clear. Speaking of central figures, let's jump to our protagonist. As Noah, we have to go through our hero initiation, but before we become the hero, we have to play the tarot assigned to us by Del Carlo, the Fool.
Little Noah.
For 13 chapters, until his role's realized, Noah stumbles around playing the Fool, clinging on to the most infallible piece of evidence that keeps him going forward, a distant memory. But why is that strong enough to keep the character's motivation rolling? Because that memory contains a promise, which is the one ideal we're meant to praise here. Amongst the chaos and confusion, keep your promise. In that regard, we're meant to keep true to ourselves. We're meant to foolishly stumble into chaos with a vague promise as our only moral compass to put the pieces in order. Van Helsing's truth is already established when we meet him, but whether it's for loyalty or duty, truth is our only weapon against chaos. And that's the meta lesson we get from all these metaphors. The hero's journey distilled into a single plot device: tell the truth. Stumble through it if you must. Even in our realities, think of how much more adventurous life would be if we just told the truth and let the cards fall where they may. Oftentimes, you know the outcome would be bad, but there's opportunity to grow from it. This path is much more exciting than growing a twisted shell built from lies that distort reality. Just look at what happens when you choose the latter path. Just get a closer look. Really get in there. Okay, back up. You're too close, man. So back to Van Helsing. His archetype is a symbolic truth bearer, representing accumulated cultural wisdom, combining rationalism, myth, and medicine to guide the young heroes through chaos. In the old tales, this was Jonathan, Mina, and the gang. On the El Dorado and beyond, this is Noah and Puza and the gang. The role hasn't changed. Someone's got to show these youngins how to tell the truth. As Noah, we're forced to embody the Fool first, struggling through the unknown to earn that clarity. And the writers did a hell of a job not only telling, but showing us what chaos and confusion feels like, what with all the time travel bullshit, dropping tiny hint nuggets all over the place, and not to mention this shit is hard to decipher because everyone talks in fucking poems. So after finishing this essay, I'd like to drop my truth. Roses are red, violets are blue. I don't know if this was worth it, so